In this video, we're going to be covering everything I wish I would have known about when I was starting to work with virtual assistants. I remember seeing lots of people talk about working with VAs, but then when I tried it, it never felt as easy. Basically, I just went out, found random people to do different types of tasks, told them to start doing it, didn't really give them great instructions. I thought they were good instructions at the time, but they really weren't. And I'd get frustrated over and over thinking this whole VA thing was really overrated. Fast forward 6 years later, and our company is made up of 7 VAs and 2 full-time people. It's not perfect, but it runs pretty smoothly compared to other businesses I've seen. So just know VAs can work, and they work for us to do all sorts of things that we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about what VAs can do for you, especially at the beginning. Next, we're going to talk about how to find VAs and how much you should pay them. After that, we're going to talk about how to interview VAs and make sure that they can actually do the job well. It'll cut down on a lot of training after the fact. Then we'll talk about how to hire this person, like the actual contracts, paying them, all those sorts of things. Then lastly, how to manage VAs so they can be successful and you'll be happy with the work that they do. And make sure to stay until the end because I'll be giving away a tool comparing VA services and VA websites I've never given away before. So let's talk about what VAs can do. Just remember guys, VAs are people, they just live in a different country. Most times they're highly educated and will exceed your expectations as far as the language they speak or the experience they have. So some of the tasks that VAs help us with right now in our business are things like editing this video you're watching right now, responding to emails, categorizing your emails, and responding to them in different ways. Responding to Airbnb guests or messaging Airbnb guests. Managing your calendar as an Airbnb host. Analyzing properties for you. This could be for either purchase or arbitrage. Social media content creation or finding ideas, such as ideas for what you should make videos about or actually writing the videos or writing the scripts or blogs for you. So they can pretty much do any task that's done on a phone or a computer. And most of the times, I assure you they could probably do it better than you. For example, I never enjoyed managing our calendar for our Airbnbs. That's okay because I could train someone else to do it. You'll be shocked when you realize you can hand things off that you hated doing to people that actually love doing them. Next, how do you find VAs and how much to pay them? There are a lot of sites out there, but I'm gonna recommend a few favorites I think you should start with. In the order I like, we have onlinejobs.ph, Upwork, and Facebook groups. The site does matter, but what's way more important is the interview and training process. The goal with using these sites is just to cast as wide a net as possible so your applicants can find the summary and apply for the job. We're just going to cover online jobs for this video for the sake of time, and it's our current favorite. So the next tip is so important. If you only take one thing from this video, this should be it. Do not put your application link in the summary of the job post. Here's exactly what I mean. When we post a job summary, at the bottom, we give a specific instruction for the applicant to follow if they want to actually receive the application. Specifically, the way it looks for us is we'll ask them to do something like include the word green turtle in your subject line when you reply to this via email. Then what we'll do is within Gmail create a filter with an auto reply for the word green turtle as the subject line. And we'll also make sure to use auto categorize in the email so that it goes into a folder without us seeing anything or doing anything. So now whenever an applicant follows the steps of emailing us with the proper subject line, they'll receive an application without us doing anything. They can apply for the job then, and when they finish the application, which is held in Google Forms, we'll get a notification. But never before then will we have to do anything or get notified by anything. This is awesome for a few reasons. 1, it self-selects people who can follow instructions. 2, it removes people from the job who just spam apply for roles. And 3, it cuts down on all the operational work needed on our side to filter down a huge candidate applicant pool. We'll talk about pay more in other videos, but from a high level, here's the common pay scale we see and use right now. For full-time workers, you could pay anywhere from $3 to $8 per hour, depending on experience. For part-time workers, it might be $5 to $10, but again, it'll depend on their experience. Now let's talk about interviews. Definitely not my favorite part of the process, but there's a few steps we're gonna talk about that'll make the actual process easier and you'll do less interviews than other people have to do. So on the application, we ask all candidates to submit a Loom video. A Loom video is just a video tool where people can record quick videos about themselves and submit the videos as a link instead of a file. It's pretty simple and easy, but it's always our first step and part of the first application they receive. Personally, I think watching these videos of them answering a few questions is the fastest way to get to know if a candidate is good or bad or understand what they're like as a person. I think it's way faster than reading a resume. Then what I'll typically do is narrow the list from 40 to 50 people down to 10 to 15 just based on the Loom videos. And sometimes people submit videos in other formats or they say they'll get it back to us later. Those people are immediately removed from the process because they just couldn't follow a simple instruction, and it's a preview of what it might be working with this person in a few weeks or months if we hired them. Then what we do is send them a small test project related to the task. For example, if it's managing Airbnbs, we'll send them a scenario and ask them exactly how they would handle it. We might throw in a few other questions into the form, but from a high level, that's a place you can start if you're looking for a VA to help manage your properties. Or if it's video editing, we'll send them a 10-minute raw file and ask them to edit the first 30 seconds of it. We do little things like this just so we can see if they're worth interviewing. And this sort of is the interview. These are parts of the interview that are actually just more important than doing a Zoom call and trying to get to know someone. And again, the way that we see it, if someone doesn't want to do this, but they'd rather get on a call, they're not a good fit for us because it's sort of the same thing. These are just interviews done before we ever have to speak to each other. Then once we have the final list of candidates, the ones who followed the instructions to get an application and who were picked to complete a test project, we'll set up a 30-minute Zoom interview for the final candidates. And this isn't really intense for us because we already know a lot about these people. We just want to see how they are as people, if they show up on time, and if they'll fit our culture. Next, let's talk about an important step, but often forgotten. What do you do when you actually decide this is the person you want to work with? How do you tell them they have the job? What do they need to sign? How do you give them access to tools or show them the work that they need to be doing? So I'll talk about exactly how we do it. When we finally decide who we want to hire, we email them saying we have an update and we'd like to get on a call with them. On that call, we let them know they've been picked and how excited we are to bring them on. We tell them we'll be sending over a contract, and in that doc, we just outline what they'll be doing, how much they're making, all the tasks they're responsible for, and then all the security and privacy stuff from our company. It's pretty standard stuff, but you definitely want to include the tasks and the pay for what they're going to be doing. If they accept, we confirm a first day and we get the contract signed. Once the contract is signed, we start building out their Notion pages for their first day so they can come in and have a task list ready, an SOP list, and view of everyone else's pages ready to go. Depending on the person's experience and what they're doing, someone on our team will typically meet with them for at least the first 14 days to make sure that they have what they need and they're getting off to a good start. And if someone needs more time than this, especially for a few hours a day, then they're typically not a good person. And if they aren't getting it after 2 weeks, or at least we don't think they're grasping the high level concept, we'll just remove them. The way that we typically pay our VAs is through PayPal or a tool called VAs. We pay bi-weekly and then monthly if they have a performance incentive. Number 5, how to manage this person so they're successful and also so you aren't miserable. In my opinion, you should have a daily and weekly scorecard for this person to measure their activity so they know their goal and how they're doing on their path to achieve that goal. For example, if they're doing Airbnb management, I think they should have a scorecard measuring their response time to inquiries and reservations and also how many 5 stars we're getting. If they're doing video editing, they could be measured on clips created or number of revisions needed before production. If they're doing deal finding, they can be measured on how many deals they find daily over a certain criteria. There's plenty of other ways you can measure activity, but these are just a few ways that we do it in ours. Like I mentioned before, at the beginning, we will meet with this person a lot. Then after, we will depend mostly on the scorecard and 1 to 2 weekly meetings with different groups or team members to check on things. Then we'll use Notion as our primary communication and project management tool to get things done. Trust me, I've tried all the different tools and this is my favorite. I think it's better than Asana or Monday or Google Sheets, whatever. Then we use Slack for urgent things and for a daily stand-up. For file sharing, what we use is Google Drive. It's easy to just share documents. Most people have it. They don't need to download anything extra. And it's a good way to just get documents back and forth without needing a lot of sending and waiting on buffering. I also mentioned we are giving away a tool comparing VA services. If you want that tool, just DM me on Instagram with the word VA table and we will send it over. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna make more videos on virtual assistants and each topic we talked about here. So make sure you're subscribed and let me know what questions you have. I'll be answering every one of them in the comments. That's it. Until next time, see you guys later.